Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Mark Medley Show. And as always, I thank you before we even get started for listening to the podcast and following the podcast and sharing the podcast, because I trust that you do all of the above. Today's episode is titled, Learn Something New Every Day. And I decided to share that, especially as we come to the end of one year and about to head into a new year. And I know we make resolutions, because me personally, I don't make resolutions because I kind of think it's a silly process to go through and then don't keep. So rather than making a lot of resolutions, I just kind of go with the flow and kind of decide what it is that I want to do. But one of the things that I've always shared with folks is that we ought to learn something new every day. And a lot of times when people hear that, they think it has to be something big, something profound, something deep. They think it has to be something monumental, something that's just far out there. And that's not what I'm talking about when I say learn something new every day. When I say learn something new every day, first, we ought to make an effort to develop ourselves. And I'm an avid reader, so for me, reading a book or listening to an audiobook, reading magazines or newspapers or going online or researching something, that's just one way. But there are so many other ways of how we can learn something new for the day. It could be in our conversations. It can even be something from a television show. It can be from an interaction in the marketplace. For example, and I'll share this quick story with you. Lately, I've become a major league gamer, particularly with simulators such as Flight Simulation X, or American Truck Driver, or Euro Truck Driver, Euro Truck Simulator, or whatever the name is. Have bus driving simulators. Have all kinds of simulators that I game. When I go into my man cave, I actually become a pilot. I actually become a truck driver. I actually become a bus driver. I actually become a construction worker. So over the time, I've added various pieces to my gaming hobby. I've had the throttles and the joystick for the airplane. I have the steering wheel that actually vibrates and makes you feel as if you actually hit bumps in the road. But what I didn't have and I didn't know anything about was a gaming chair. And if I did know anything about it, I had not paid it any mind. But lo and behold, last week when my wife and I were shopping, and it was right before Christmas Eve, a gentleman pulled up in the lane next to ours with this big box on his basket. And it was a gaming chair. And I looked at that and thought, gaming chair, what is that? See, that's something I didn't know. So we chatted with the gentleman. He had a particular model that I said I would go home and research what the whole notion of a gaming chair is all about. And again, as I searched for gaming chairs, there was various models. So the model that young man was purchasing in the store, I did not get, but I got an upgraded model that would do more of what I was looking for the now gaming chair to do. The gaming chair vibrates. It has music speakers on both sides of the chair, one in the back. I can connect all the computers and the videos and the games to it. And the chair actually vibrates as if I were in a truck, as if I were flying a fighter jet, as if I were flying a 747. The sounds are there. The feeling is there. So you really cannot tell me now that I'm not a pilot or a truck driver or a bus driver. I'm sharing all that to say I did not know what a gaming chair was or paid it any mind until we saw the young man online, standing on the line at the store, purchasing one for his grandson. That was the something new that I learned that day. Wasn't anything big, wasn't anything major, wasn't anything profound. It's just that I had no awareness or did not know anything about a gaming chair and how that could augment my gaming hobby. So for that day, that was my something new. Every day that we're alive, there's something that comes to our attention that wasn't brought to our attention the day before. That is our something new. And that's what I mean by we ought to learn something new every day. I listen to audiobooks, and many of the points that the author brings out, they may not be anything new per se. However, it was brought to me in a way that I had not thought of before. So for me, it was something new that I had learned. If I'm reading in the Bible, there may be a scripture that I've read 15,000 times, but on the 15,001st time, it hit me a different way. That was the something new I learned for that day. I may go out on my bicycle and start out on one route and take another route and didn't even realize that particular street was there. That was the something new that I learned for that particular day. May wind up getting lost in the car, which is kind of hard to do with the GPS, but the GPS may take me a different way that I had never gone, and that's the something new that I learned for the day. My point is, whenever I'm encouraging people to learn something new every day, it doesn't have to be this big, this profound, this monumental, this mountainous, because a lot of times when people hear learn something new every day, they immediately think they're going to have to go back to school. They immediately think they're going to have to go for another degree, which is all well and good. It really is. The more degrees and licenses and certificates you can get, the better. We ought never stop learning because no one knows everything. What one may be an expert in may be someone else's weakness, and what is a weakness for another may be someone else's expertise. There is no one person on the planet who knows it all. I may be very good in public speaking. I may be very good in writing. I may be very good at using the social media, but I may not be that good in algebra. And then there are folks who are mathematicians who may not be that good in terms of language arts. Everybody has their passion. Everybody has their niche. Everybody has what they love to do and can do well. My challenge to you is to continue learning. As a matter of fact, sometimes we might have to get out of our comfort zone to try to learn something that's not so comfortable for us. So maybe I might want to try to tackle some algebra problems. Maybe I might want to tackle some equations just to keep in practice. One way to learn something new every day, or at least keep your brain stimulated, is through sites such as Luminosity. I try as much as possible to get on Luminosity to just kind of give my brain some exercise in terms of stimulated and keeping it active. Another way to learn something new is to try to learn a new language. There's a wonderful site called Duolingo. That's free, Duolingo, and I'm getting nothing from them one way or the other. I just know it's a wonderful site that I'm learning Spanish with. That's something new every day. If I don't learn anything but one new Spanish word per day, that's something new. I think you're beginning to follow me now as we go through this podcast in terms of learning something new every day. What you learn really doesn't matter. The question is, are you learning something new or are you staying stagnant? Because either you're growing or you're dead. If you're not moving, if you're stagnant, for the most part, you're dead. If you want to continue to grow, you have to continue to develop yourself. Whatever field that you're in, if that's your passion, you need to learn more and research more about it. Whatever hobby that you may have, you need to continue to practice your game and learn more about it. So whether it be, like I said, I've become a major league gamer. For those who love golf, for those who love tennis, I'm also an avid cyclist when the weather is nice. I go out on my bicycle. Whatever it is, learn something more about it. Do something besides sit passively and watch television. Now, I'm not saying you can't learn from television because there are documentaries on there, wonderful documentaries. There are other learning things now. YouTube, you can just about go into Google and keyword any possible subject that you can imagine, and an answer or a response will come back to it. The same is for YouTube. If you go on YouTube and keyword just about any particular subject, a video will come up on it. So there is no reason for us not to learn something every day. I tell people all the time as well, in 2017 going into 2018, if folks are dumb, it's because they choose to be dumb. If folks are stupid, it's because they choose to be stupid. If folks are unlearned, it's because they choose to be unlearned, because we don't have to be. I know some would say, Mark, well, I don't have any money to buy a computer. Well, guess what? If you go to your local library, you can use the computer for free. Most schools now have computers that students can access. Most colleges have computers that students can access. So to be honest with you, there really is no excuse. Most folks have a mobile device known as a cell phone or an iPhone or Samsung or whatever it may be. Most folks have that. In all honesty again, I actually use my phone more for everything else but talking. The least thing that I do on my iPhone is talk. But I have a whole lot or a plethora of apps on there, and many of them are learning apps. Many of them are activities. Many of them are social media apps where I can build my brand and get the word out about who Mark Medley is. There are just so many opportunities in 2017 for a person who wants to learn to learn. To be quite honest with you, there's no reason why every one of us shouldn't be able to learn something new every day. You might walk upon a flower that you didn't realize was a particular shade, a particular color. That's your something new for the day. You may hear a conversation that someone tips you off to something. That's your something new for the day. I go back to my example with the gaming chair. Did not have any mindset of purchasing a gaming chair. I actually needed a new chair for my man cave, for my office. I was going to get another office chair. But now, as it turns out, the gaming chair serves dual role. It serves as the office chair as well as the gaming chair. Didn't know anything about it until that man pulled up on the line to pay for his purchase, and on the side of the box it has the name of the gaming chair. As a matter of fact, the young man behind me, we started up a conversation, and he said, I don't know what it is, but I want one. That was his something new for the day as well. Podcasting, videos, blogs, all of those are wonderful avenues, wonderful tools to learn. And speaking of blogs, you can follow mine on www.thereadingcircleblog.blogspot.com. The title of my blog is The Critical Thinker. And what I do in The Critical Thinker is pretty much the same thing that I do in the podcast, and that is to speak about things that people observe but may not necessarily pay attention to. I write about things that are for the most part taken for granted, and I try to bring it to people's minds. That's hence the name, The Critical Thinker. I kind of look at things that some people just run by, and I write about it. The same thing that I do with the podcast. So I invite you to follow this podcast on all the major podcast sites, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Spreaker, whether it's on iTunes, whether it's on TuneIn, whether it's on iHeartRadio. It's on all the majors. I invite you again to follow the blog, The Critical Thinker. That's www.thereadingcircleblog.blogspot.com. And then I'm live on Saturday mornings on the radio. Also web stream around the world on gobrave.org. That's GOBRAVE.org. And locally in the northern New Jersey area on 88.7 FM radio. Yes, the opportunities are out there. The question is, are we going to take advantage of them? This is Mark Medley. I thank you for listening to this podcast, and do be sure to go out and learn something new every day.